I thought you were gonna say the line.
What line?
The line that you said earlier.
What line?
Little pig, little pig.
Let me in. Yeah, that.
All right, so we have the 4th episode of season 7 for The Walking Dead.
4040.
What an incredible episode it is.
It was cool.
Let me just get this out of the way first.
Maggie died.
Maggie did not die.
Oh, okay.
Spoilers, by the
I
way.
thought she did.
As always.
She wasn't in it, and they said she was dead.
Oh my goodness.
Continue.
Just stop. We'll cover that. So I am very happy that they actually had Daryl with them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad because I like it when the stories are together, when the characters stories are when they're basically in the same location, so that you don't have this episode is focused on this person and that episode is focused on the other person. Don't do that. Just stop doing that.
In season 5, they had ones where it would go back and forth to different groups in one episode.
And there's all these. You know what drives me crazy? The reviewers online like that.
Yeah.
How you like that? I don't know. It's great for if you're binge watching the show.
Wait, no. I'm saying that in season 5 they did it within an episode, and
right.
That's what they should be doing.
And that's okay, exactly. But when you take the whole we're going to take a whole episode to focus on why Carol doesn't want to kill anymore.
Yeah.
No, that's not worth an entire episode. Mm-hmm. You can cover that, and this is why the pacing of the show sometimes just drags because you focus a whole episode on one insignificant thing.
Yeah,
that's my biggest complaint about the show. But this episode fixed it somewhat because Daryl was brought back to Alexandria when, of course, Negan shows up.
This was actually what we wanted to see.
Yes, Negan shows up in Alexandria. He told them that they had a week, but he shows up 3 days later.
Was that what it was? 3
days.
Because I just heard Rick say you're early.
He said they didn't say it in the episode. I want to say,
but each episode before might have been a few days. I don't know.
Something like The Talking Dead. They said it, or Robert Kirkman said it in an interview. But I remember hearing it was 3 days.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's only been 3 days since Glenn and Abraham were killed.
Yeah.
So they're of course still in shock. So the whole episode was Negan coming in, basically telling what was so I guess immersive about this episode was, I don't know about you, but anytime even Spencer, when Spencer says to Negan who are you, and Negan goes, I know you must be joking, right? I kind of felt like what Rick felt. And I feel like what Rick felt is just don't make him mad. Don't.
Yeah, and when Carl... Oh, man.
Oh, goodness. At one point... so, of course, the Saviors come to Alexandria to take half their stuff. And I guess half was open to interpretation by Negan.
I guess the first day is just kind of go crazy on everyone.
Well, yeah.
It's also burn your mattresses day.
Oh, goodness. So, basically, they don't take any of their food.
Which is good.
They do start taking their weapons, and then
they take all their guns, don't they?
Well, they weren't planning to. I don't think they were planning to. I think they were going to gut most of their weapons, but when they had the incident with Carl holding one of the Saviors at gunpoint,
then he was like, I don't like this, and I'm going to take more. And okay, but let me just say, there was a really, really unexpected funny moment in this episode. And do you know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about with Gabriel? Yes.
That was so funny. And I was not expecting that the comic relief right there. It was hilarious.
And it's so weird. I forget who mentioned this, but just kind of focusing on Gabriel, he seems to be the guy who's off from everyone. I think it was during The Talking Dead. But they were totally right. He's just always off whenever everyone else is hopeful and go yeah, we can do this. We can take on the world. We can find a safe place and live there. He's all oh, I'm so scared. But now that everyone's especially Rick is just beaten down and broken, he's the most hopeful character around.
I really like him, actually. He was pretty annoying at first, but he's actually pretty cool.
He won a lot of points with me in this episode.
I always figured he would get cooler. But yeah, in that, I don't know. It was so funny, though, just which is what Negan's reaction was just funny, like just what he said. So basically, Negan is there talking to Rick, and it's kind of an intense moment. Yeah, it's an intense moment because they're talking about Maggie. And Negan is
Glenn.
And Negan is suggesting like stuff about Maggie, and it's not good. And you're like, ew, gosh. And it's like really intense.
The G-rated version. He wanted to take her back with them to their compound
because he says that they're clingy when their husbands just die or whatever. Anyways,
yes. And
so it's really intense, and you're like, oh gosh, what are they gonna do? And then just out of nowhere, just Gabriel. He comes up and he just says, "Would you like to pay your respects?" But Negan just freaks out, and it's so
as
funny.
Close to a freak out as we've seen from Negan so far.
And I think that's the funny thing about it is that you have this guy, this larger than life villain who just came in here, wrecked everyone, but he's here getting scared at some goofy priest guy. It's so funny.
And he basically said like, "Wow, you are creepy."
Yeah, you're creepy. He says,
are
with your creepy, your creepy smile, and it was so funny.
And the thing is like we've seen Gabriel be such a coward, like in the face of Negan, who is easily the worst threat they've faced at this point. He just holds his composure. Doesn't snap under pressure.
Yeah, and he fakes that Maggie's dead, which
by really brilliant move. Just like hobbles together like a headstone and makes it look like there's a freshly dug grave, and basically saving Maggie, who of course is at the hilltop. We know from,
but that's gonna make it complicated down the road because they're gonna have to hide her every time they come.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, it's how I kind of. Well, part of me, like when I'm watching this, like you kind of watch this, and if you let yourself get carried away by it, you kind of think like, oh gee, I just hope everything goes well. Like I hope nothing goes wrong.
Because with Negan, you never know what's gonna happen. Like
every time, like you think every time I make the mistake of thinking like, oh, he's not gonna think that's a big deal. Everything is a big deal to him. Everything is a test. Whenever he's talking to, it doesn't matter who he's talking to, whether he's talking to one of Rick's people, Rick, or one of his own guys, it just feels like everything is a test. He's
so clever. He's always thinking about what he's saying and like everything. It's creepy.
Yeah, and like I don't know how his men aren't like just scared to death of him, but like you could tell that like they really look up to him. And yeah, so they end up taking all their weapons, and then they take almost all their mattresses. And we find out at the end of the episode, they just took the mattresses to burn them.
And that, as indicated by the end of the episode, that's going to set Michonne off. That's going to make her really, really mad. Like, I just know it. Like, because she's the one who's, like, freaking out about this.
Well, she finds them.
Yeah. But Rick, all this time, he's just kind of letting it happen. Michonne's, you can tell she's not having it near as much. And that, at the end, is going to
Which is weird. That's, and that actually leads into another really strong point of this episode. So, it's kind of hard to, it's something you may not realize, but Michonne didn't come in until season 3. Mm-hmm. And she really didn't get integrated into Rick's group until season 4. Yeah. But if you think about that, she never met Shane.
Oh yeah, that's right. In this episode, they did indeed reveal that the baby was
Judith is not
which all this time I didn't think that. Honestly,
you can't. I mean, honestly, you don't know.
But I don't know.
He doesn't know. But basically, what Rick told Michonne was that he knew that Judith was Shane's daughter, not his, but he made a decision to raise her as if she were his own.
And that's confirmed now, though. Like, all this time, I guess people have just kind of put it away. I always figured that she was actually Rick's kid, but it's kind of weird.
Well, I mean, you did have that thing with Lori where Lori basically, I forget which character was, like, asking, like, you know, what are you going to do if it is Shane's? And she's just like, yeah, it's not. It's Rick's. It doesn't matter what the truth is. It's Rick's. Mm-hmm. So and it's very true that they don't talk about old past characters.
Yeah,
But I like how he used that example to say, like, this is what I had to do to make sure that Judith was taken care of. So now with Negan, this is what I have to do to make sure that no one else dies. And I really feel like Rick wouldn't have been it was really interesting too. I just thought of this when at one point Negan gets a hold of a camcorder. Oh, and on the camcorder is the recording.
And he has his big beard.
He's got the big mountain man beard, and it's when he first came to Alexandria, and it's when Deanna was interviewing all of them, and he was like almost out of his mind at this point, and Negan was like, even like, that's someone I wouldn't want to mess with.
But he's like, now he was like that's what he basically says that now he would want to mess with him, basically. And then he like films himself, and I can't remember, what does he say? He says something.
I don't remember.
It was basically just throwing it in Rick's face that he's not in charge anymore, and it was
So yeah, the whole episode is just pins and needles and like hoping that nothing bad happens. And of course, a couple of guns go missing. And Negan, like, you think like, okay, it's just a couple of guns, big deals, but like, no, like Negan is like, will basically kill someone if they don't find the guns. Oh my goodness, it was a very, and spoiler alert, no one dies in this episode, but even though no one died, like the tension of this episode was so high when I was watching it.
Honestly, I feel like that's how it's gonna be with every episode with him in it.
Yeah, and we're gonna get a lot of Negan in this season. Like there's only been one episode where we haven't had him, and there's a chance that maybe the next episode may not.
It kind of looks like it's not gonna have him.
It may not have him, but of course it's gonna have the saviors in it.
They're gonna be in every episode.
I'm really like, this is really fascinating. Like this whole. And whether or not you agree with the fact that they killed Abraham and Glenn, I know some people that I talked to were like just downright mad that they did. But even if he had just killed off minor characters, I still think this would be a really fascinating season so far. I mean, what do you think?
I think it's cool. I know from the comics that a lot of like really cool stuff happens from this. Like, I don't read the comics, but I hear things. And, there's going to be basically like eventually there's going to be like all out wars about like against Negan and stuff. It's going to get really cool. Like, just when you thought that the show was kind of dwindling, and it's like, what else is there to do? It's just like, oh, there's this that you can do now. So
yeah,
it's gonna be a ride, and it's gonna be also really interesting to see in that midpoint before everything kind of goes crazy, and like there's like all like the battles and stuff. Before all that, like what's really gonna happen? What's the substance of episodes gonna be in between them? That'll be interesting to see too. So yeah, it's gonna be a really cool season.
Yeah. So what would you give this episode, scale of 1 to 10?
Ooh, it's gonna be a pretty good one. I would give it an 8. Ooh, a 9. I'll give it a 9.
9 out of 10. I'll give it a solid 10 because I don't see what they could have done better.
Yeah.
Like, there was nothing about this episode that was just like, okay, that was dumb.
I'm just giving
that didn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm just giving it 9 because there's episodes that I like better that I would give 10s.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I'm just giving it 10 because I honestly, no complaints about the episode. And I'm glad that they actually, like, the entire length of the episode. Oh, and this was a 90-minute episode.
I totally forgot about that.
For some reason, like,
it was weird.
That was weird. And not a complaint. I'm just saying, like, this is just episode 4 of season 7. Why does this one have such a longer runtime? I don't know. It's The Walking Dead. It's a runaway hit show. They can do whatever they want, pretty much.
Yeah.